Hi there, my name is Whitney Bullock and I play the viola. That was the Viola Excerpt C from the Audition excerpt lineup from this year's 2025-2026 Houston Youth Symphony Viola Auditions. So as you can see on the paper, this excerpt is by the composer Sibelius, and it is his Karelia Overture. Karelia was a province of Finland, and it was a source of significant cultural and political strength for the people of Finland. Sibelius was a nationalist composer, which means that he really drew from the folk music of his native Finland in his music. He didn't really quote the folk music per se, but he tried to get at the essence of that folk music feeling. So this overture that he wrote it at the very beginning of his compositional career, but he still had that real nationalist streak in his compositions. And so the opening of this excerpt is grand. It evokes a castle in Karelia. And so you want to have a really big, robust, beautiful viola sound, and even robust even when it's mezzo forte. So the good news about this excerpt is if you enter it into YouTube, it's right at the beginning of the overture, so you don't have to scrub to find it on a random amount of minutes or just kind of guess at where it is. It's always going to be at the beginning, no matter what you listen to. So enter it in, listen to a few different versions of it. Some of the videos I found had scores you could watch. Some of them didn't, and so that's okay. Just listen to it to try to, again, get that essence that Sibelius was going for, of that pride for Finland. So the good, cool thing about this excerpt is that the violas and cellos and some clarinets are the ones that start it off. But we don't want to be too full because we want to leave room in our sound for us to get up to that fortissimo that you see around letter A in this excerpt. So a couple of ideas for you as you work on this. Now, one of the most obvious things is probably just practicing it slow. I highly encourage that. But when you practice it slow, please make sure to save your bow on the long notes so that the bow planning that you develop when you're playing it faster doesn't go away and that you don't compromise that. So what do I mean by that? So for instance, measure 4, we have a half note to a quarter note, but if we use too much bow, we are not in an optimal part of bow for that part. So even when you're doing it really slow, save your bow. It might feel like the sound gets a little stuck when you are doing it under tempo, but that is okay because we want to rehearse the right hand as well as our left hand when we are playing slow. Another thing that I would highly recommend is droning an A when you play through this. I did that myself when I was preparing this video for you, and it really helped make sure that my E's and my A's and my C's were really as focused as I could make them. And so droning an A while you slowly practice this, and I don't need to demonstrate that. I think that you and your teacher can talk about how to drone an A along with what you play. But I will play for you a little bit of how to subdivide some long notes to make sure that you're holding those long notes out the correct amount of time. So for instance, before A, 1, 2, 3, 4 measures before A, we have some half notes and whole notes. So let's say, actually I'll start at measure 13, a little under tempo, and give you an idea of what I mean. I'm going to turn the half notes and whole notes into quarter notes. So when I got to measure 19 and 20, I turned those quarter notes into triplets as well. And so that will help me internalize that subdivision to make it as accurate as possible when I'm performing those excerpts when I make my audition video. And I encourage you to do the same. So now I'm going to play through the excerpt at a slower tempo with a metronome. And we want to shoot for 110 to 115 as the quarter note, but for right now, for this run through, I'm going to put it on 80. One, two, three, four. So that was the excerpt at quarter note equals 80. And something crossed my mind that I realized I should have said before I played through that. Let me turn the metronome off. So one of those is that in measure 6, there are chords. And you might have noticed I have not played a single chord. That is because if I were to play this in orchestra, I would be dividing this. Hence, I would be playing the top line. Now, I know that that bottom line has some awesome moving notes, but I would recommend you only play the top line unless you can get those chords really, really well in tune. But traditionally for an audition, and you can consult your private teacher about this, but you want to just play the top notes of chords. I know it doesn't say divisi, but it just makes for a cleaner audition. And you'll be able to really get those accented E's really, really accurate without compromising intonation, for instance. Another thing I wanted to point out when I was practicing it slow for you is between measure 7 and measure 8, we have a big string crossing. We're going from an A, you might be using a 4th finger, you might be using an open, both are completely fine, but we also have a big string change to a C. One thing you can do to practice that is do a big pause, and then practice the level that your elbow needs to be at to really get that C clean. And then start to eliminate that pause until you really can feel in your muscle memory that you are going to get cleanly from the A to the C. We want to anticipate that string crossing. So now I'm going to play this excerpt for you one last time at quarter note equals 115. was a little distracted by my cat. You can't see him, but he is getting in my viola case, and I'm trying not to get distracted by that. One, two, three, four.